Hello and welcome to In the Light, Growing Your Soul with me, Anna Isabel. And it's with tremendous delight that I welcome back Jonathan Goldman. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Anna. How are you?
Very well and very excited to have you back because I was rereading your fantastic book, Healing Sounds. And I really thought there's so much more that I want to talk to you about. And so here you are. Thank you.
It is my great pleasure and what an honor to be talking about one of my favorite books.
So, the reason I thought it would be good to have you back is because I wanted to talk with you about vowels and vowel sounds. And the reason is because it seems that there's so much emphasis on these particular sounds in ancient scripts, etc. So, can you tell us about vowel sounds and why they seem to be so particularly important?
Great question. Let me think for a moment and search my memory banks to see where would be most appropriate to begin. One of the things I really like about vowel sounds, without going anywhere else other than they are universal, i.e., in every tradition, there are vowel sounds. And therefore, the power of vowel sounds is universal for people who have certain belief systems. All you have to do is sound the vowel sounds, and you will feel a particular resonance with it. And each vowel sound is a little different. When you do the consonants, particularly consonants with vowel sounds, and you get mantric forms, whether they're Sanskrit or Hebrew or Tibetan or whatnot, that brings you into a particular modality that is wonderful and great, but has its own little venue of followers and people. And people might go, well, I don't want to sound that because it doesn't fall into my tradition. But nobody's going to give you any problems working with the vowel sounds. So first of all, I really like the vowel sounds because they're universal and non-denominational, found in all of these different traditions. But I'm going to take you back to 1986, to March 21st. It probably was because it was the spring equinox. And I was in deep meditation, and I had gotten, if you like, a system of working with vowel sounds that would resonate the chakras. And at the time, I was really, really interested in working with sounds to resonate the chakras, the energy centers of the body that have now really come into being. Although back in 1986, if you mention chakras to most people, they'd go, chocolate what? And I say, chakra. But nowadays, most people know about the chakras as energy centers. And I received a set of, if you like, 7 different vowel sounds that seem to really, you could literally feel the vibrations in your body and if you're sensitive enough, the energy field associated with a part of your body, and you could use it to resonate the chakras. And these were basically a u, o, I, a, e, like that. And I began to teach them to people. And that's, golly gee, that's almost 40 years ago. So I've been doing that for 40 years, and it's been pretty successful. Now, associated with each of the vowel sounds is a particular set of, if you like, frequencies or composite frequencies called harmonics that my book, Healing Sounds, here, I'll hold it up here. Yay, Healing Sounds. Uh, Healing Sounds deals with the idea of the harmonic For the most part, there are multiple tones. I turned it off for a moment to clear my voice, and I didn't get the microphone back on. So for you folks who are going, what happened to his sound? It disappeared for a moment. But Anna, it's back now, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Okay. So harmonics, if you like, are, they're found within every sound that we make, whether it's the sound of an instrument or particularly our voice. And there are multiple sounds that are geometrically related. And what's very, very interesting is that within each of our voices, and particularly within the vowel sounds, are particular harmonics that are most stressed, and they're called formants. And they also are very unique and individual for our own voices, so that everyone's voice is unique and different as her fingerprints. So, and this is, if you like, why our voices sound different. It's because of the harmonics. Now, question from you, because you may be looking for more specifics on this. Tell me specifically, because I can go on, and let me hear from you how it can best serve.
Okay, so this is great. You've talked about the link between certain vowel sounds and the chakras. And I guess the next question is, why would this be the case? Why is it that the chakras are going to respond to certain vowel sounds?
Well, great question. I first, believe it or not, came upon the idea of using vowel sounds. I was an original with this for sure, but for myself, I remember reading a book by a fellow by the name of Peter Michael Hamel, and his book really dealt with, among other things, it had a chapter on the use of vowel sounds in physical therapy, speech therapy, and the fact that there were certain vowel sounds that had a particular resonance in our body. I said, gee, if they have a resonance in our body, perhaps they have a resonance with regard to the part of the body that they're vibrating. And I began to work with that. I'm going to play with you right now, if you don't mind. And I know we're on Zoom, so we're not going to be able to work unless we both put our audio, and let me see if I can, into, I'm going to try to do this, see if I can do this. Original sound from you, all right. I'm going to put my thing in original sound from musicians. Okay. And let's see if we can get this out of here. Good. So I should now be able to make a sound without audible, without Zoom necessarily clipping it out because of the audible, if you like, filtration system. Don't know if that's true. But for example, if I go without changing the pitch, if I go, and then I go up to E, now, could you hear the harmonic switching from there?
Yes, yes.
And you can feel the vibrational difference. I use that as an example. Try it yourself if you can. Go from an ah to an E and just touch yourself going I, and you will probably feel the vibrations in different parts of your body from that
Well,
without.
well, I can tell you the answer to that because I've been playing around with this.
All
Uh,
right.
so I have been playing around with this. I actually find it very difficult to switch from one vowel to another in in one breath. However, what I can say to you is I absolutely do find the resonance, particularly with the lower vowel sounds.
Right. Right. Well, I appreciate that. Um, I'd like to suggest that you take nice deep breaths when you do it. So nice deep breaths. If you just take a small breath, you're not going to be able to. If you do a nice deep breath, like that, you can see. So it's sort of just. It's actually what they call a diphthong. A diphthong is when you go from one vowel to another vowel and you blend them together. And we do this all the time in our speech, don't we?
I also noticed that when you're doing it, that there's a it where the voice is, it's it feels to me listening to you like it's somewhere between your nose and the back of the throat because it's got an kind of hum to it. So
Ah,
it's having that hum, I think, that I'm
but
hearing.
I do nasalize it a little bit because the nasalizing, the I, you're right. As I go to the E, I nasalize that a little bit. That's one of the tricks of making the higher, if you like, harmonics, is you nasalize, you go, and if I block my nose, won't happen because the nasal cavity needs to vibrate. And that's actually very, very cool. So we don't want to necessarily be talking like this through our nose, but a nice blend between our nose, our throat, and our chest. Because once again, I want to go, ah. Now, if I were to do a Tibetan deep sound, that's going from the throat down into the chest in a particular manner. And I don't suggest necessarily that our audience, unless they have been a monk in a past life or they've had some training, that they try this. But mostly, for myself, I like to work within the range of your speaking voice. You know, the speaking voice is a lot of times people are looking for their signature sound. Oh, I'm going to teach you your signature sound, your frequency, your whatnot. It's usually very close to being in your conversational voice. And there, you want to do it in a comfortable sound. You don't want to strain your voice. Does this make sense?
It does, yes. And I love that you actually said, yeah, the nose is involved in this. There is a nasal quality to this because when I was listening to you, I really picked it up. And I do find it easier when I've got um when I combined it with an and I begin with that and then go into the vowel. So because I think that that also brings in the nose at that point.
Right, yes. Well, in Healing Sounds, I know that I have a number of different sounds to help make harmonics. One of them is the the more sound, where you get it vibrating here, and then you put your tongue a little bit to the roof of the mouth, and it gets that. I don't know if you can hear that on
Yeah,
Zoom. Were you able to
yeah.
do that? Great, yeah.
So this is lovely because what we're demonstrating here, or you're demonstrating, is the the kind of sounds that we're talking about. But I want to come back to the chakras,
Yeah.
and and you already went through the different vowels and how that affects each chakra. I can say that from personal experience, when I'm doing the lower frequencies, or sorry, the OU vowels,
Right, lower
that
vowels, whatever.
the
Yeah.
lower vowels, that I can definitely feel my root chakra resonate,
Yes,
which is,
because feel it. You can experience it. So it's real. It's not just a, hey, let's imagine this and use our visualization. There's a vibration happening, a resonance.
So I guess the other thing that fascinates me is the thought that we could send sound to specific parts of the body. Here we've been talking about chakras, but in your book you talk about sending sounds to specific parts of the body, which
Right.
I find fascinating. So tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to demonstrate a way of just working with the vowel sounds on one pitch again so people can see it. I'll see if I can do it right. It's been a while. I don't necessarily do this every. What I do every day is a sequence of vowel sounds that are, believe it or not, the same sequence of vowel sounds that basically are in this book, The Divine Name, that I'm actually now working on a new, slightly revised edition for. And those go from the sounds of the going from the crown to the heart down to the root and then back up again. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate that with you with the sacred idea that anybody who's watching or listening to this at some point in time says will feel a resonance. Does that feel okay? Okay.
Yes.
Could you hear the sound going, the harmonic
Yes.
going down and up? And that's
Yes.
did it for me as a really almost instantaneous type of vowel sound. And in healing sounds, I basically have people first work with feeling the resonance of the vowel sounds going up and then going down and then doing it back and forth. Because, like anything else, the more you practice and work with something, the more adept you become at doing it.
So what you did there was you went through the whole sequence of the vowel sounds, up and down.
Yes, or down
What
and up. That's okay.
and down and up, yes. Um, so what if somebody wanted to work with a specific chakra? Would they be advised to work with a specific sound?
Well, for sure. I mean, I find that for myself, there are certain vowel sounds, and in the book that are seem to be pretty universal. For example, the ah sound. I like to use that for the heart. Ah. And you can hear for that one, that's not very nasal. It's more a little chest oriented. Yes?
Yes.
Ah. And I'm putting my hand here and I can feel it going, ah. And it's, if I put my hand here, ah, I don't feel it up here at all. If I went, ah, yes, then I could do it. But ah. And if you think about it, the ah sound is found in so many of the different god and goddess names and who are particularly associated with, if you like, the heart center. In fact, when we really like something, we go, ah, it's a sound of love and appreciation. And the goddess Tara in the Buddhist tradition, Buddha, Krishna, Yeshua, which is the Hebrew name for the Christ energy, Yahweh, they all have that ah sound. And so that's a really good one. For example, if you want to work with the chest area, that's a really good vowel sound. Or if let's say I want to resonate in the third eye or crown area, I'll work with the which is feeling this vibration. I had an interesting experience a couple of days ago where I was teaching a niece of mine how to resonate some of the sounds, and she would get a headache in this area. And I said, oh, okay, that's your third eye. I said, let's try to project some light into that area as you're making the sound. See what happens. So I had to make the sound while I had a projecting sort of a gold white light in there. I said, what happened? She said, the pain went away. I said, great. So getting into being able to project sound to different parts of your body, it's really a matter of a combination of experience, trying it, trying to move it around with pitch, because oftentimes going from going from low to high will certainly affect different resonances in your body. Then, of course, if you combine that with the vowel sounds, even easier. But it also has to do with our intentionality.
Tell
Okay?
us about that.
Okay, so many years ago, actually, even before I wrote Healing Sounds, I came up with a formula which is frequency, the actual vibrations of the sound, plus intention, the consciousness being made on the sound will create healing. Frequency plus intent equals healing. And as an example, I find that that's so very, very important these days. A lot of people have gotten into specific frequencies and they go, oh, this frequency is good for this or that. Well, if you have a belief that a frequency is going to do something while you're listening to it, the odds are it's going to affect you that way. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Um, there's a whole lot of attention being given to. Oh, I got to bring this up because this happens to be right here. Chakra Frequency is a book that I did with my wife, Andy. And this uses a whole lot of different systems of resonating the chakras, from working on, if you like, scales that are do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, to just doing it on what is called a, a monotone or just one note. You Because of the harmonics, just doing as we've demonstrated on one note, you can resonate stuff anywhere. Even, believe it or not, just working with the hum, you can project different sounds somewhere. I'm going to do this as, a, as an example of how intentionality can be so powerful that you can move the sound with your thought. I'll start with a hmm. Okay, that's vibrating here right now. Hmm. And now I'm going to move it here. Hmm. And you can't see it, but I could feel it moving from here, even though I didn't change the pitch or the tonal quality. That was purely based upon my, if you like, intention and consciousness. It's work. Yeah, you have to have some practice in it. It's not necessarily going to happen immediately.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Let's imagine I'm preparing a meal
Yes,
and I want to bring out or enliven the food.
totally. Yes.
Okay, so uh, and let's say, for instance, that the food in particular is something like yogurt, and I want the friendly bacteria in there to be extra active.
Yes.
I'm just exploring different applications, so we can play with this to clear our own energy.
Right.
Can we also positively affect something like yogurt, which is a live food?
You know, and you hit one on one of my favorite subjects, which is programming water and and using sound. I do this every day with water. I make water and I have my own little formula of taking a particular sound and literally exposing it to the water. Uh, it's an interesting phenomenon. But you could, for example, I'm going to do this to a crystal, but pretend this is your yogurt, your thing of yogurt, and you just do a on a level you can work with breath and what is sound, but breath made audible.
Yeah.
And whether it's an om or a ah or any sound that you like, but you think of right how you got your yogurt, and this is your yogurt, or you got the yogurt there. What? Tell me. We got the sound there. Now, what do we want to encode on the sound?
Okay, so what I'm hoping to do then with this yogurt is to enliven the bacteria within it so that it is most potent when it enters into my gut to create a happier balance within there.
Great.
So if I'm doing that, is that even possible?
Well,
And if I'm doing it,
all right,
what is
great.
the best approach to take? Because I'm just playing with these different
Okay.
ideas
Okay.
of applications.
So, some thoughts. Number one, you want to take a nice deep breath, a relaxed breath before this is yogurt, or I could be doing this as yogurt, but here I'll be holding this. This is yogurt. This is our thing of yogurt, and we want to enliven it. So you take a moment and you basically bring that into your consciousness. And then you take a nice deep breath, and then you sound and you on the sound as you're making the sound, you project your intentionality onto the sound. Does that make sense?
It does. I love that. So this is why I took such a kind of left field question, is because I want to show everyone that everything around us is alive
That's right.
and that everything around us can respond to sound.
Yeah.
And I know that people, think that of sound, they think about instruments, or in this kind of context, they think about singing bowls or tuning forks, and that's good. But we have voices as well,
Right.
and that our voices are really easy to access because they are within us. So, what would you say to people who say, "Oh, I can't sing. I can't, I don't have a voice"?
I would say, I can't help it. I have all these books here. I would say, try humming. Because this is what my wife Andy and I have been teaching for the most of the time, because we've encountered so many people who have exactly what you're talking about, whether you want to call it a blocked throat chakra, or they have simply become so judgmental about their voice that they basically they try to sing. For some people, even speaking in public is more terrifying than facing a firing squad. But we have not met anybody who has any problem humming. Babies hum, the elderly hum. So we teach a phenomena called conscious humming. And conscious humming is very, very powerful. Have we played with this before?
We have, we have.
All right. So humming is just a wondrous tool for being able to first get resonance occurring in your body. And I've probably talked to you about the fact that there are two ways that sound affects us. One is called psychoacoustics, going into our ear, into our brain, affecting our nervous system, our heart rate, our respiration. And the other is called vibroacoustics, where the sound goes into our body, vibrating different parts of our body. And it's this vibration, this vibroacoustic thing, that is really more what you're talking about when you're talking about singing into your yogurt. I hope this crystal doesn't mind my calling it yogurt right now because we know it's really just a crystal. But yes, so, and you could also just literally hum into something while you're projecting it, and the sound is ultimately still. The energetic vibrations are still going to go there because we are, if you like, such a complex, holistic being that sound isn't just one little thing that affects this and that. Everything, if you like, works together synergistically. So we can also just an oh, I mean the ohm. Actually, you ready? The ohm comes from the hum, and so somebody goes mm, that's a great way of doing it, and then you get the sound projected out, and you put your intentionality out there, and you can literally learn to use your voice on somebody else or on yourself. If you get an owie, you smack yourself and it hurts. You go, projecting the intention of putting sort of healing energy into it can be a color, it can be whatever works for you, and oftentimes that'll work, or you can do it for someone else as well. You've heard of therapeutic touch.
Yes.
Well, you can use therapeutic sound on that matter. And I just had a friend who was a chiropractor do some work, and he was holding his hand and going, and you know what? Even as I was just doing, I could feel my hand vibrating with the sound. Things to just try and work with.
So we know that there are healing frequencies. Is there a particular vowel um, that would be helpful, let's say, to alleviate pain?
Well, that's a whole another thing because one of the things for alleviating pain, I oftentimes suggest to people humming is really great for that one because you also, well, I mean, it depends on it depends on the person. I I'm going to backtrack for a second, and as I was telling you, you got your yogurt and you take a sound and look, if you wanted to get really complicated, you could think. I one time read somewhere that it was the still point between the in breath and the out breath that's the best place to program intentionality. But the trouble is, I don't get into that because it's too restrictive. And also, if I forget to program the intentionality as I'm at that particular point, boy, does that mean the intention isn't going to happen? No, it isn't. Because, time and space, if you like, are not restricted to one particular moment. And even just the, if you like, the thought of projecting energy into the yogurt is doing something to the yogurt before you've even done anything. Now, in terms of pain, there are a few different things that are going on. I remember I was interviewed by the New York Times about how to use that, and I'm actually going to have another interview tomorrow, but from the Belfast Times on, among other things, using the voice for pain. And there are a number of different phenomena that, can be occurring. Some of it is indeed when you make sound, you get the release of endorphins that are those natural self-created opiates that are wonderful painkillers. But also, you're distracting yourself. I have a dear friend who is in critical care in the hospital, and he's really in a lot of pain. And I said, hey, just sit there and with your eyes closed because he's very weak, and I don't know if he can really sound forth with a big, loud sound. I said, sit there and just hum. Because also there's a little bit of, for want of a better term, distraction therapy. Because when you're humming, it's taking your mind off the fact that there may be a part of your body that is causing pain. And you're basically doing that. So there are a number of different things. The other one is that perhaps as you're making the sound, whether it's an ooh, an oh, an ah, or a hum, you're also able to somehow project the sound with your consciousness to the part of your body that is causing pain, vibrating and creating sort of a massage of that area with your sound, which will help. So there's no question that making sound will help alleviate stress and pain. The exact mechanisms for it, once again, 4 or 5 different suggestions and probably more.
And can we do this to help others? So, for instance, your friend might not be able to make a sound himself. Would you humming help him?
Sure. But I would say that almost that humming is so close to being a sound that anybody can make in almost any situation. It is. It's an extraordinary thing. Unless they were unconscious, because you can just hum on the breath without very much chi, without very much consciousness. It's just so easy to do. Uh, Even though, once again, I've gone from the alpha to the omega of sound, working. I love harmonics. I do it every day and do this and that. Humming is the one thing that seems to be it's a gateway sound for people because everybody can do it. Everybody can experience the vibroacoustic resonance of it and then apply whatever they want because you get increased oxygen in your cells, you get lower blood pressure and heart rate, you get the release of melatonin, you get the release of nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator that literally relaxes and widens your blood vessels simply through humming, which is an extraordinary thing. So it depends on how deep you want to go. Working with the vowel sounds is brilliant, as a brilliant way of working with the harmonics within the vowel sounds to resonate the chakras. If you are too ill to do that, the simple hum can be an all-purpose sound.
Perfect. Jonathan, you have yet again given us so much to play with. I'm not going to say food for thought, but I am going to say so much to play with because this is the joy of working with sound in this way is that we get to play, we get to experiment and try out new things to see how that's going to work. What is it that we're going to feel in our bodies? So I think this is great. Thank you.
And listen, one last thing. It's important to realize we are all unique vibratory beings and that there is no one frequency that's going to work for everyone. And for example, there's a lot of mythos around a certain frequency being the frequency of love. And that's fine if you want to believe that, but I would just really hate to have a mother holding a baby and cooing a lullaby and needing to consult some sort of guitar tuner to make sure she was singing the lullaby in the right key in order to project the energy of love. That's absurd, that's self limiting, and that is not right. Because love is an energy that can be projected on any sound, anywhere, anytime.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And a reminder to everyone that the book that has inspired this wonderful conversation is called Healing Sounds. And I'll be putting a link to it in the description box. Jonathan, please remind everyone about how they can find you.
Go to healingsounds.com. It's a mecca of information, material, a lot of free downloads and stuff like that because my purpose is to help illuminate people to the power of sound. And also, Jonathan Goldman official. I have turned out, I looked yesterday, I have over 270 videos on YouTube. I don't know how they got there, but there they are. So that's another way of checking stuff out and join our mailing list. we do these songs once a month. My wife and I do these teachings together. I've got a brand new recording that just came out, Anna, called Sonic Oasis. Write this down, check it out. You can find it on whether it's Spotify or YouTube or Amazon or Apple Music. And here's the cool thing about Sonic Oasis is that they're all pieces of music that are about 3 minutes in length. So it's actually a combination of 26 pieces of music that are 3 minutes in length because people are so stressed out that they don't have time to listen to music. So I said, okay, here's thing for 3 minutes that for 3 minutes will at least give you a little oasis, sonic oasis from all the stress that's happening on our planet at this time.
Oh, beautiful. I love the idea of Sonic Oasis. Oasis. Thank you so much again.
So blessings to you. Thank you so much, and lots of light and through sound to everyone who's ever going to listen or watch this video.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Next time, we're going to be looking at the first alchemists. Until then, goodbye.